They brought her aboard like some rusted antique, a curiosity rather than a warship. The EHA Thor's anvil didn't shine like the Concorde's sleek vessels, didn't shimmer with energy field plating or ripple with gravitonic armor. She looked like a slab of dark steel wrapped around a barrel longer than most destroyers. To the Concorde, she was a joke, a stubborn relic from a civilization that had refused to evolve beyond physics. Captain Alira Jex had filed her initial report with mild amusement. Humans rely on velocity and mass. It's not innovation. It's desperation. She meant it, too. Zarnian doctrine had long declared kinetic weapons obsolete. Energy dominated the battlefield now. Precision beams, entropy destabilizers, phase pulse arrays. Human railguns, with their coils and capacitors, were museum pieces with ambition. But Earth was persistent, and more importantly, politically persistent. Enough that the Concorde invited them to join the 12th Fleet's border demonstration to observe. The humans took the invitation as a deployment order. Thor's anvil arrived at Skorvek space 2 days early, her magnetic spine humming low as technicians calibrated her slug rails. No ceremony, no fanfare, just long nights of checklist confirmations and capacitor load balancing. Alira watched from the Concorde flagship, celestial embrace, as the humans went about their rituals. They didn't smile much. They didn't talk much. They just worked. Admiral Thryan found it hilarious. One ship, one gun. They call that a navy. The laughter echoed through the command bay. Alira didn't disagree. The anvil had no drones, no grav maneuvering fins, no phase shielding. It looked like a bullet with engines, and humans wanted to point at the stars. The Concorde's military intelligence had ranked Earth's capabilities at Tier 4, just above fringe raiders and below serious powers like the Dalari or Velen AK. Their weapons lacked elegance. Their tactics reeked of attrition. And yet, there was an unease Alira couldn't shake. Maybe it was a confidence in her eyes. Engineers who looked at melting coils like puzzle solvers, not technicians panicking over failure. Or maybe it was the weapon itself. A spinal railgun capable of accelerating a tungsten rod to near-relativistic speed. The concept was known. The Concorde had abandoned it centuries ago. Too wasteful. Too imprecise. Earth disagreed. Earth doubled down. And now here they were, edge of the Skorvex line, where the Concorde and the Narco Dominion stared each other down across disputed territory. The first wave of skirmishes had already begun. Pirate proxies, stealth incursions, sensor ghosts. Nothing official, nothing sanctioned, but the kill counts grew all the same. The 12th Fleet was deployed to send a message. The humans sent Thor's anvil. Her railgun was over 700 meters long, cradled in electromagnetic coils and surrounded by superconductive dampeners. Every time they ran a test fire in atmosphere, it caused global weather spikes, so they stopped testing an atmosphere. Alira remembered reviewing the footage of their last full-range firing. The slug passed through 3 kilometers of iron asteroid and emerged intact. No energy bloom, no burn, just a hole clean enough to thread light through. She called it primitive. She still did, but she started watching closely. The Narco attack came sooner than expected. Their dread ships, black and insectoid, emerged from micro-jumps along the asteroid curtain, bypassing Concorde tracking arrays. They didn't demand surrender. They didn't open negotiations. They opened space like a wound. Concorde vessels scrambled to respond, forming blockade crescents and opening with standard protocol, ion netting, null bursts, and plasma spires. It barely slowed the Dominion's charge. The Narco's newer vessels had adapted. Graviton skin fields twisted incoming energy beams like smoke, dispersing them into harmless arcs. Their forward batteries chewed through Concorde shielding with organic precision, like saw blades through silk. The flagship's hull rang with alarm reports. 3 cruisers down in the first 6 minutes. 5 more were crippled. Alira's console flashed continuously, damaged telemetry, fleet repositioning, command overrides. Amid the chaos, a single transmission pulsed in the lower corner of the screen. Thor's anvil requesting engagement clearance. It was denied. Twice. Then again. Admiral Thryan snarled. Tell the apes to stay on the leash. This is a Concord operation. The humans didn't respond. On the fourth request, they simply acknowledged no further transmission. Their engines began a slow burn toward vector intercept, ignoring fleet formation protocols. A single ship moving directly into the war zone. Alira's hands tightened. Her pulse readout spiked. On her personal channel, she hailed the anvil. "You'll be slaughtered. Break off now." A calm voice responded. "We've already loaded the round." The slug was nothing special by Concord standards, just a refined uranium alloy shaped into a 14-meter dart, hardened to survive magnetic stress. But the coils were another matter. They drew power from triple reactor capacitors, each pulse timed to microseconds, magnetically cascading to accelerate the slug down the length of the ship. The kinetic impact at projected terminal velocity could rupture a city-sized dreadnought in half, assuming a hit. Assuming the narcal didn't obliterate the anvil before the railgun charged. The countdown began. 17 minutes to full charge. The human ship didn't fire point defense, didn't launch decoys. It simply held position behind a mining rock and focused every circuit on the gun. 10 minutes in, the Concorde had lost another destroyer. 12 minutes in, the Dominion's central ship, a Gorklaw-class fortress, pivoted toward the anvil. Its bioreactive plating absorbed plasma like water, and its weapons readied for a kill shot. The humans didn't flinch. 15 minutes in, the anvil's hull glowed with heat stress. Internal temperatures redlined. Crew sat strapped in, reading old-style physical checklists. Not touchscreen, not neural-linked. Manual backups. At 17 minutes and 6 seconds, the railgun fired. No flare, no beam, just silence. Then the Gorklaw split in half. Not exploded, not burned. Split. A clean bisect, like a fruit cut by an invisible knife. Sensors showed no energy residue, no distortion fields. Just kinetic trauma so violent the vessel's structural integrity collapsed inward. Behind the target, a moon took the hit. A perfect trench carved across its crust, visible from orbit. It kept spinning, slowly disintegrating from axial shear. The battlefield went still. The Dominion ships ceased fire. Some began evasive maneuvers. Others simply turned and jumped. The Thor's anvil didn't move. Its coil smoked. Its hull creaked. Inside, technicians cheered, quietly, as if they expected it. Captain Alira Jex deleted her earlier report draft. She began a new one, hands trembling. Humanity has deployed a strategic-level weapon. Classification: Kinetic Apex. Recommendation: immediate reassessment of Earth's military doctrine. Railguns are no longer primitive curiosities. They are balance-shifting assets. She didn't know it yet, but her words would be quoted across every military channel in the galaxy for the next decade. And Earth, once mocked, once underestimated, had just written its name in stellar history, not with fire, but with mass and motion. The footage looped across every Concorde network within hours. A clean, perfect strike. No radiant aftermath, no shockwave cascade. Just a dreadnought cleaved in two by a solid slug traveling at 8% the speed of light. Experts tried to explain it. Engineers dissected it. Politicians avoided talking about it in public, but whispered in closed sessions, and military analysts across the 5 arms of known space issued revised threat assessments for humanity within the same 24-hour cycle. The Thor's anvil wasn't praised. It was feared. Officially, Earthstrike was marked as emergency defensive action. The Concorde's official press statement called it unfortunate but strategically necessary. But everyone who watched it knew what it really was. A warning shot that hit. The narco Dominion, who had mocked the Concorde's weakness for diplomacy, didn't launch a second wave. Their fleet retreated past the asteroidal boundary, and surveillance buoys picked up multiple distress pings from their command ships. Whatever confidence they had brought into the Skorvex incursion died with the Gorklaw. Earth offered no explanation, no speech, no celebration. The Thor's anvil returned to low orbit around the staging moon, venting heat and running system diagnostics. Half its crew was treated for minor internal bleeding, an effect of the magnetic recoil stress. even through the ship's layered inertial dampeners. When asked if the shot was worth it, Commander Ives only said, "The slug landed. That's what matters." In Concord High Command, the silence grew louder than any debate. Admiral Thryan, pale and visibly shaken, proposed the humans be placed on strategic review. Elira Jex countered that placing them under restriction would insult the only fleet that scored a confirmed kill in the battle. She'd already changed her tone. The smug confidence had melted from her voice. What replaced it was cautious respect. One by one, the fractured Concord species began reevaluating their positions. The Mroth sent a delegation asking to tour Earth's orbital factories. The Dalari Syndicate, once dismissive of all kinetic force, requested a technology exchange. Even the Merchant Guild began adjusting their trade tariffs on tungsten, titanium, and depleted uranium. Earth refused all offers. When asked for railgun schematics, Earth declined. When offered multi-billion Concord tokens with prototype plans of Thor's anvil, Earth declined. When invited to present before the Military Oversight Tribunal, Earth declined. Instead, they deployed a second vessel, the EHA's Ragnarok. Its frame was larger, its railgun spinal mount thicker. No data was shared, but rumors spread quickly that its projectile could reach 12% light speed and impact targets from across interplanetary distances. And that's when the balance shifted, not through war, but through fear. The other galactic powers, both Concord and Independent, began shifting policy without a single additional shot fired. Patrols pulled back from Earth-adjacent routes. Pirate groups blacklisted Terran cargo haulers. Even the aggressive Overic marauders, known for never backing down, turned their fleet away from a disputed trade lane after spotting the Ragnarok listed in system. Elira Jex watched the change firsthand. She remained as liaison aboard the Celestial Embrace, but her time was now divided between official Concord meetings and off-record Terran briefings. She was the only non-human allowed aboard Ragnarok, and even then, her access was tightly controlled. Still, what she saw shocked her. It wasn't just that the humans had a weapon the rest of the galaxy hadn't bothered perfecting. It was that they'd built it entirely alone, without help, without alien tech, and without seeking approval. Every railgun round was built by hand. Every capacitor coil, every guidance algorithm, every shock-mounted firing rack. They were all human-made, and what stunned Elira most was how calm they were about it. To the humans, this wasn't some breakthrough superweapon. It was just engineering. "We're not the most advanced," one technician told her, "but we make what works. And when it works, we trust it." The Concord didn't trust. It hedged. It developed 5 backup systems for every solution. It relied on complexity and abstraction. It waged war with elegance, aesthetics, and protocol. The humans didn't. They built a gun that punched stars, and they aimed it without blinking. A week after the Scorvex encounter, a secret Concord summit was held in the shadow of Heptra Prime. Attendance was mandatory for all member systems. The meeting was classified, but leaks emerged quickly. Some species feared Earth's independence. Others feared what would happen if someone else got the weapon first. There were calls to demand Earth hand over all data on its railgun systems or face embargo. The human ambassador to the Concord, a woman named Miratal, sat silently as the debate raged. When it was her turn to speak, she stood, tapped her datapad, and projected the raw footage from the Gorklaw strike. No edits, no overlays, just silence, followed by impact, followed by 2 halves of a dreadnought spinning away into the dark. Then she said, "We didn't ask for this war. We didn't come to impress you. You mocked our tools. You ignored our warnings. And now you understand." She left the meeting after that. No vote was taken. None was needed. The Dominion didn't just stop attacking Concord territory. They opened back-channel communications with Earth, not the Concord, just Earth. They wanted to talk terms. Privately, Earth didn't reply immediately. Instead, they began construction on a 3rd ship, the EHA's Heavenbreaker. No specs were released. No visual schematics leaked. Only a single report from a mining vessel that passed too close to a classified zone and registered a brief but alarming energy spike, followed by the complete disintegration of a kilometer-wide asteroid. No impact signature. just vapor. Speculation spread fast. Was it a new generation railgun? A kinetic warhead? Something worse? No one knew. Everyone prepared. On Concord stations, emergency railgun protocols were drafted. Civil defense systems were redesigned. Military fleets began exploring kinetic shielding, something they dismissed for centuries. No one openly admitted fear. But orbital factories switched from plasma coil arrays to raw metal refinement. Entire supply chains restructured to move dense materials. No one wanted war with Earth. Not now. Elira Jek sat in the command center of the Celestial Embrace, reviewing dozens of intercepted transmissions, and felt something she never thought she would in her lifetime. Balance had shifted, not because of numbers, not because of alliances, but because of a single, undeniable truth. Humanity had reminded the galaxy that a fast rock, with the right aim, was deadlier than any beam, and they were only getting started. They studied the strike from every angle, every data fragment, every gravitational ripple. Military labs across the galaxy simulated it in control vacuums. Artificial minds ran probability loops with every variable accounted for, but none of them could replicate it. Not the precision, not the velocity, and certainly not the raw mechanical simplicity. What humanity had done wasn't just unorthodox. It was deeply unsettling, because it proved one thing above all else. For all their advancement, the rest of the galaxy had forgotten how to kill with purpose. The Goreclaw class had been designed to counter everything the Concord could throw: energy-based weapons, phase particle disruptors, nanoswarm dissolvers. But not a chunk of metal moving at 24,000 kilometers per second. The Dominion's command councils didn't admit defeat, but their military fleets went silent. Narco patrols vanished from conflict zones. Their forward operations stopped broadcasting. Intercepted messages between narco admirals were terse and panicked. They hadn't feared the Concord, but they feared a gun they couldn't shield against. The balance of the galaxy shifted in degrees, not with declarations, but with adjustments. Quiet ones. Borders once contested were now patrolled less. Concord fleets moved with more coordination near Terran space, and species once indifferent to Earth now rerouted their diplomatic efforts to appear friendly. Earth didn't escalate. That, more than anything, terrified them. The Concord expected triumphalism, perhaps even arrogance, but Earth remained silent. No victory parades, no declarations of superiority, just silence and motion. In the background, the EHA's Ragnarok conducted long-range kinetic stress tests near Saturn's orbit. The few who observed the data described an impact so powerful that a simulated dreadnought hull, built from ultracomposite alloys, vaporized on slug contact. They didn't film it. They didn't boast. They logged the data, made minor calibration changes, and fired again. It wasn't just that Earth had built something new. It was that they'd built it years ago, and no one noticed. The rest of the galaxy had assumed Earth was lagging, too grounded in chemistry and mass to be taken seriously. But while others chased theoretical particles, Earth perfected metallurgy. While others developed psionic interfaces, Earth solved coil degradation at high charge. They didn't pursue glory. They pursued function. Inside Concord Intelligence, a quiet panic took root. The Strategic Technology Directorate issued new blacklisted materials lists: tungsten, uranium alloys, chromium-dense capacitors. Overnight, the market shifted. Traders in neutral systems tripled prices for dense metals. Earth, it turned out, had stockpiled them for years. Ambassadors across Concord space requested closed meetings with human diplomats. Many tried offering access to quantum engineering in exchange for kinetic guidance systems. Others proposed joint ventures. Earth declined all offers. They didn't trade what they'd already mastered, and they didn't trust those who had mocked them days ago. The psychological shift was the most profound. Before Scorvex, Terrans were treated like stubborn children, brilliant in spirit, but hopelessly attached to their outdated worldview. After Scorvex, they were spoken of like ghosts, dangerous, quiet, and never to be provoked. Jokes about throwing rocks disappeared from military academies. Concord war games began incorporating kinetic strikes into their simulations, not to copy Earth, but to survive Earth. Elira Jex's personal transformation mirror the galaxies. Once an open skeptic, she now spent her days advocating for Terran respect at the highest levels. Her mission reports no longer included sarcasm, only warnings. Treat them as equals, or we will regret it. She wasn't alone. Other advisors from species who had worked with Earth sent similar updates. A Zentari logistics officer reported that the humans speak little, plan quietly, and act with finality. A Velan AK analyst described her strategy as weaponized patience. But it wasn't just a weapon. The railgun had become a symbol, a myth. Alien children on fringe worlds started playing with model slugs, chanting 8% light speed as they launched makeshift marbles. Galactic media shows tried recreating the Skorvek shot in VR simulators, but none could match the original. One by one, Concord Defense Ministries introduced new policies for direct kinetic containment. These weren't designed to fight humans. They were designed to survive them. And that was the point. Earth wasn't waging a campaign. They were being studied, mapped, theorized, feared. The biggest shift came 2 weeks later. The Narcal Dominion sent an encrypted message directly to Earth's defense coalition, not through Concord, not through diplomacy. Direct. It was a request, clear, formal, and unprecedented. They wanted a ceasefire. No one had ever made the Narcal back down. Their fleets had reduced entire planetary governments to rubble when negotiations failed. But they didn't want more war with Earth. They wanted distance. Earth responded with a single clause. No human colony will be approached within 20 light years. Non-compliance will be met with proportional response. The Narcal agreed, without edits. The Concord Strategic Command met in emergency session that same cycle. A dozen species petitioned to place humanity under tech embargo. The idea was voted down unanimously, not out of solidarity, but out of fear that it might provoke another demonstration. Behind the scenes, Earth launched another vessel, the EHS Avalanche. This time, there was no doubt about its purpose. Scans revealed a double-barrel kinetic accelerator, capable of rapid consecutive firings. It had no apparent shielding systems, no AI-guided support, and no drone hangars. Just mass and motor force. The moment it entered open space, 5 pirate fleets disbanded. Not scattered, disbanded. Entire criminal syndicates folded their banners and moved into planetary trade networks. The Avalanche never fired a shot. It didn't need to. The myth had outpaced the weapon. Among the Concord's younger species, a theory began circulating. They called it the Stone Principle, that any civilization which masters firepower through simplicity becomes immune to over-complex strategies. Earth didn't need superluminal targeting, dimensional shielding, or psionic command nexuses. They needed only mass, speed, and intent. A military scholar from Ixari Prime published an essay titled The Slug Doctrine, outlining the end of energy superiority. Within a week, it was banned in 6 sectors. But the idea had taken root. Across the galaxy, fear reshaped policy. Alliances realigned. And humanity, once left out of every major strategic table, now had a chair in every room, even if they didn't always sit in it. The galaxy understood something now. Earth didn't posture. Earth didn't threaten. They just calibrated their gun, aligned the barrel, and waited. And the galaxy kept looking over its shoulder, wondering if they were in the crosshairs. They called it deterrence, but everyone knew it was fear, refined, quiet, and absolute. The kind that didn't require patrols or threats or ultimatums. It only needed one truth to remain unforgotten. Earth could fire again. The Concord finalized humanity's full member status under a new designation, Strategic Autonomous Ally. The title was unprecedented, crafted entirely to reflect Earth's position, respected, yet left unbound by most regulations. Some species protested. The Browland Coalition tried to delay the vote. The Lidhari Syndicate abstained altogether. But in the end, every major power agreed. No one wanted to risk a second Skorvex. Earth's delegation accepted the offer with the same minimalist tone they had used for everything else. No grand speech, no gratitude, just signed accords and a quiet return to orbit. Elira Jek sat in the central hall that day, watching Ambassador Mira Talhand over a simple datapad containing Earth's agreement terms. The humans had not asked for military influence, not demanded territory, not even requested reparations. Their only condition, autonomy and defense. They would fight alone when needed, and if they fired again, no one would have a say in how. That clause was signed unanimously. Back on Earth, nothing changed on the surface. Civilians continued their routines. Cities functioned as always, but orbit was a different story. The Ragnarok, the Avalanche, and the nearly completed EHA's Heavenbreaker remained in staggered positions above the planet, silent, inert, and very visible. No official specs have been released on the Heavenbreaker, but speculation reached fever pitch. Some said it could fire slugs from lunar orbit into deep space. Others whispered it didn't fire just one projectile, but many in sequence, a planetary shotgun. The truth remained sealed behind Terran encryption layers no Concord AI could crack. In time, the myths overshadowed reality. Alien children dressed as human engineers for cultural festivals. Galactic fiction began romanticizing Earth's stoic war philosophy. Heroes who didn't shout or boast, only calculated angles and velocities, and walked away before the sound reached their enemies. In the academic halls of the Arulan Academy, an alien scholar coined a phrase that caught on: where others speak in beams, humans speak in silence. Across the galaxy, militaries began to pivot. Energy weapon production dipped. Armor density standards increased. Gravitic field dampeners were re-engineered not to stop disintegration rays, but to absorb kinetic shocks. The Concord fleet started secretly funding Project Resilience, a hush-hush initiative to replicate Earth's launch systems. But Earth had already moved ahead. Elira was granted a classified tour of the outer dry dock of Heavenbreaker as part of her final liaison assignment. The ship wasn't like the others. Its design was thicker, its spine broader. Where the Anvil and Ragnarok were weapons of precision, the Heavenbreaker felt like an executioner's blade, slow, massive, inevitable. Inside the rail corridor, she paused before the slug housing bay. The projectile waiting inside wasn't just tungsten. It gleamed faintly with a dense iridium osmium lattice, impossibly heavy for its size. On the side of the shell, a name was engraved in bold white paint. Silence 2. The first silence had killed the Gorklaw. This one, Elira realized, wasn't just for war. It was for history. She turned to the Earth engineer beside her and asked quietly, "Will this one ever fire?" The man didn't smile. He simply said, "Only if someone forgets." That was Earth's doctrine in full. No threats, no warnings, no escalation. Just a promise that if balance broke again, if the galaxy pushed them, the slug would leave the barrel and rewrite another era in its wake. The Narcal Dominion signed a formal non-aggression pact within the month. They requested nothing in return. They simply asked that Earth recognize their surrender. Earth didn't respond. Not officially, but the Heavenbreaker remained docked. That was enough. On fringe worlds, former pirates took up mining contracts. Former smugglers turned to security. Galactic violence dropped 9% in one quarter, a statistic no one officially tied to Earth, but everyone understood. Where fleets once warred in vacuum corridors, there was now hesitation, calculations, reflection. No one wanted to be the next example. Elira eventually retired from the Concord military. She took a quiet role as an advisor to Earth's cross-species outreach division. Her reports became historical references, studied in every academy across the stars. The final entry in her last report read, "Earth doesn't dominate. It doesn't threaten. It waits. And that is what makes them dangerous." Years passed. New powers rose. Old ones faded. But Earth remained where it had always been, grounded, watchful, and ready. No shots were fired. No more dreadnoughts were split in two. But every time a starship crossed into Terran-claimed space, they slowed down, and every captain, regardless of species, thought the same thing. What if they're watching? Because the galaxy had learned its lesson. No one feared human railguns, until one shot shattered everything.